everybody, for joining us today. Today, we're talking about saving your summer season. And what that means is we're talking about H-2B lottery results, cap relief, and staffing strategies for success. So, there's a lot that's been going on in the H-2B world. And for those of you that are summer season, which is probably all of you, you're very much in the thick of this. And there's a lot of moving pieces. So, we wanted to do this webinar today to help you understand what's going on and what some of the strategies are that you can use to make sure that you are successfully staffed for the summer. So, my name is Carly Eglin. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Seasonal Connect. And Seasonal Connect we'll talk about a little bit more, but essentially, Seasonal Connect helps seasonal hospitality employers to find seasonal staff, most specifically H-2Bs, although we do have some other kinds of workers in the platform like J-1s and domestic workers as well. Keith, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Keith Pabian. Looking at the attendance list, I know many of you. I am the founding partner of Pabian Law, and then Carly and I later founded Seasonal Connect together. I am really here in a very much of a support role today, just to give you some background on the legal side of things. But for those of you that don't know Pabian Law, we are one of the largest H-2B filers in the country for the hospitality industry. We work in all 50 states, and we work with so many of you on this call. Yeah, we'll turn it back to you, Carly.
Thank you. So, for those of you that don't know what Seasonal Connect is, I mentioned it just a few moments ago, but essentially, we help you as seasonal hospitality employers to find seasonal staff. And in the realm of H-2Bs, that's kind of our bread and butter. So, we can help you with finding in-country H-2B workers, out-of-country H-2B workers. We'll talk about how we can help you specifically later on in the webinar, but to give you a high level overview, you can post jobs, you can search for workers. We have over 80,000 workers in the platform that you can search through and find the right members of your team. And then we help you to build opposite season recruiting partnerships. So helping summer season employers to match with each other to transfer workers back and forth so that you can recruit from one another. As we talk today, I just want to point this out. So, Seasonal Connect is a piece of the puzzle, but I certainly want to drive this point home. I don't want anyone on this call to walk away without hearing me say, don't put all of your eggs in one basket. So, what does that mean? Whether it's Seasonal Connect, a recruiter, directly recruiting workers yourself, which we'll talk about all of those things. I encourage you to cast a wide net and to put your eggs in many baskets because of the environment that we're in, so that you are successful staffing your property. We're also going to be giving a promo at the end of the webinar for Seasonal Connect, so stay tuned for that. But I'm going to turn it back over to Keith, and he's going to give you some background on what's been going on.
All right. Thanks, Carly. So I get to have this fun role today where I don't have to talk too much. But what we thought we would do is just start off with the issue, just so that everyone understands what's going on. And then Carly's going to talk through all of the solutions. All right. So let's set the stage a bit. So under H-2B visa laws, and when I say H-2B visa laws, these are laws that were signed into law by the House of Representatives, the Senate, and the President of the United States. And I always say that because in order to change these laws, the House, Senate, and President would have to change them, which is not happening, right? Not only in this political environment, but in every presidency that I've worked through since I've become an immigration lawyer, our elected officials do not like talking about immigration. But in the immigration laws, there are 33,000 visas set aside for summer organizations, meaning that any organizations under the law that have an April 1st start date or later, anytime between April 1st and September 30th, there's only 33,000 visas available. This only applies to workers who are trying to come in from outside the country, or if you're trying to transfer them from other visa statuses. So let's say that you've had a great experience with a J-1 visa holder and you want to move them over to an H-2B, even if they're in the country, they would count against the 33,000 cap. All right, so 33,000 for the entire summer season, written into law. Because the demand is so much, also by regulation now, similar to law. What ends up happening is the earliest, this is going to get technical for 2 seconds. There's multiple steps within the H-2B visa petition process. The biggest step is actually filing with the U.S. Department of Labor, where we file this big application where we prove seasonality, that we have the prevailing wage back. It's really the crux and heart of proving H-2B qualifications. That application has to be filed 90 to 75 days before an organization's petition start date. So we always try to file on the first, we always file on the first day possible. So 90 days before April 1st is January 1st. And that's where that whole January 1st New Year's filing comes into place. What the Department of Labor does, what the US Department of Labor does, is if they get more than 33,000 worker applications in the first 3 days, they do a randomized lottery system. So basically, if we file on January 1st, 2nd, or 3rd for an April 1st start date, a randomized lottery ensues, and each one of the positions that your organization files goes into the lottery separately. The way the lottery works is Group A is the best, and it goes all the way down to whatever grouping it ends up with. Group A is comprised of 33,000 applications, and every group after that is 20,000 until they run out. Okay, so just a couple of things to back up for 2 seconds. Number one is the lottery only applies to April 1st start dates, or if there's any winter organizations on, it also applies to October 1st. So if an organization has an April 15th, May 1st, May 15th, any start date that's not April 1st, there is no lottery assignment given. It's only for April 1st start dates. Second of all, each position goes in separately. So if your organization files for cooks, servers, and housekeepers, you would have 3 different lottery assignments. And I promise you all, this thing is truly random. Finally, and Carly's going to talk a ton about this, by law, any worker that's already in the United States with an H-2B visa is cap exempt. They don't count against the 33,000. So if you're looking for an immediate solution to this problem, in-country H-2B workers get you staffed. The issue is if you have returners that you want back, I know how hard that is, right? We all in our businesses rely on really experienced workers, and a lot of times they're the heart and core of our organizations. All right, so let me show you what the demand looks like. So this is what it looked like this year. So you can see the year-over-year demand on the right, but this year for just on the first 3 days of filing, the U.S. Department of Labor received over 162,000 worker applications for the 33,000 spots, right? The demand is absurd. Over 10,000 petitions were filed that held those 162,603 workers. You can see on the right and on the left from 2025 to 2026, over a 9% increase in demand just for April 1st filings. What's interesting, everybody, is for winter season, for the current winter season that we're living through right now, it was also a 9% increase in demand, like almost exactly percentage points. So we're seeing a consistent increase in demand. I will also tell you, I don't think we're seeing yet the result of a lot of the administration's initiatives where a lot of people are leaving the workforce because of different cuts to other programs. I don't think we're seeing that yet. What I am seeing is if you kind of look at that chart on the right, it's kind of a staircase, right? It's kind of regular year-over-year increase in demand for the program. What ended up happening this year is because the demand increased to the level it did, we, for the first time, got all the way down to Group H. We have groups A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and we've never gone past G before. Also, doing very basic math, which is all that I'm capable of, they got through about half of Group H. Like it's not just a little bit; it's about half of Group H was used up this year. Now, the other thing going on, right? So to me, there are multiple issues happening here. Number one, we have the cap, which is what I was droning on about 2 slides ago. Then you have the increase in demand, and then we have cap relief. So I was saying to all of you before, the only way for permanent fixing of this program is if the House, Senate, and President update the H-2B immigration laws so that there's enough supply for the demand, right? And there's so many ways that they could do that. We could spend hours just talking about solutions here from a political and legislative standpoint. But because they can't do that, because our elected officials can't do that, what they have done is every year through basically the appropriations, like where the government funds government funds our country. They've passed cap relief, and this is called the H-2B supplemental cap relief, additional visas. You can call it whatever you want. Either way, every year other than 2020 when COVID unemployment skyrocketed right as they were about to release it, they've added more visas. The problem this year, and this is a big problem for all of you in understanding this, they've announced it later this year than they have in prior years. Usually by now, with our clients, we're able to provide a real path and real solutions for them to get what they want. The problem right now is we know very little. But on New Year's Eve, right as I was getting ready to welcome some friends to our house, I got a alert that the government was adding 35,000 more visas. And it's kind of a mix of good and bad, right? The government's adding more visas. And I keep saying this, there are so many times where we keep seeing this administration and our elected officials continue to endorse H-2B visas. Because I don't know that I could point to any other immigration program over the last 12 months where I've seen them add more visas, right? This is a big deal that they're adding. The problem is, you can see last year there were
This
64,716
is our best
additional
box
visas. That was
almost.
the same number as the year before that. This year it's about half. It's about 35,000. Um, we don't know any other details than that. Um, I will tell you for any Pavian Law clients on here, we will do a webinar once we have more information for clients. But right now, all we know is that in the next few weeks, the government is supposed to release at least 35,000 more visas. You can see on the next slide, this is what cap relief looked like last year. And there's a lot of people that are assuming it's going to look similar, which I think is a very dangerous assumption. In the last year, again, they released about 65,000 visas. They had some allocated for winter employers. They had some allocated for for summer employers that had April through mid-May start dates. And those had to be returning workers. There was a May 15th and later allocation. And then there was that, what's called the special allocation, the Northern Triangle Central America workers. If you're assuming it's going to look like this, I think that is a massive, massive mistake. We just don't know what it's going to look like. And I think you need to be really careful in moving forward um, in terms of how you proceed. So I'm almost done, and then I'm going to turn over to Carly. So here are the lingering questions that I have. And as a result, our clients have. Who's going to be able to recruit out-of-country workers for this season is question one. And then the solution. For any Pabian Law clients, make sure that you tune in on Thursday, this Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to go much more in depth on all of this and also talk about who I think will be able to get out-of-country workers based on lottery results. At our firm, we really try to reward our clients, so I don't want to give away all the answers to a much bigger group. But here's what I will say to all of you, and this is not a secret, and it's what I believe. I'm a business owner. I really understand how much you might want your returners back. I think that we're in a year of potential impossibility for some of you, and I think that you need to really balance how much are you hoping you get a certain worker versus how much do you want to make sure that you can staff your organization. And the real solution right now is to really look at in-country workers if you didn't do incredibly well in the lottery. So, my information is on the next slide. Again, if you're a Pavian Law client, Thursday at 2 o'clock, we have our big lottery town hall webinar, and then we'll do a second one once cap relief comes out. If any of you are interested in talking to us about becoming a Pavian Law client, my information is right there. Also, for any of you that are winter organization, which it does look like there are some of you on here, we are very much in planning mode, and I will tell you, with that 9% increase this year in winter demand, I think this is also going to be an issue for the first time for October 1st filers. So I very much encourage you to make sure you're working with the right providers here because we're in a whole new world of H-2Bs between what's happening politically and also just what's happening just because this program is so amazing and so many people use it. So, Carly, I've now just made everyone miserable and laid out all the problems, but why don't you go through all the solutions?
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I think we all needed the background to just really understand how serious this is and what we're really dealing with. So let's talk about the solutions. Um, as we jump into the solutions, Keith and I were talking about, we want you all to understand where we are in the hiring cycle. And in terms of the hiring cycle, we are in it right now. So if you are not hiring, you're not working on hiring yet, you need to get on this immediately. If you are already hiring, great job. But I want you to continue those efforts and really keep pressing forward. Now is not the time to kind of coast along. There's some real action that can be taken to ensure that you staff yourselves for the summer. To give you an idea, and I'll show you on the next slide how we know this, but workers begin looking for jobs in November. So they've already been looking for about 2 months. And employers, some of you, started recruiting in December. So we're very much in the thick of the hiring cycle. The workers are chomping at the bit. Hanya, our executive assistant, is on here. She helps with the worker emails, and they are emailing her constantly as they apply to those of you that have jobs posted on Seasonal Connect. Um, as well as job fairs. So job fairs have already been done at this point. We are in mid-January. Um, and so those job fairs are not going to be, a way to find workers going forward for this upcoming summer season. If you take anything away from today, it would be do not wait to make offers to people. So, if you have existing employees or you have employees that you want to return that are in the country, make sure that you're chatting with them, make sure you're making them offers, and really try to lock that in now, so that you have, some of those people already committed to you, but also they're not looking for a job elsewhere. And then Keith would tell you not to wait for petition approval as well. So make sure you are making those offers now. Do not wait until March, April when your petitions get approved. Um, I really wanted to put this in here as its own slide so that you all made sure you all heard me when I said this. Waiting for more news on cap relief or a different solution is a massive mistake. So you need to be moving forward with your recruiting. You need to be focusing on filling your roles so that when summertime comes, you can operate as a business and you have enough hands on deck. Um, while and Keith mentioned this as well. While I know that you all have returning workers that you're hoping to get, um, don't hold out hope for specific workers. There's a point in time that we're going to reach, and we're very close to it, where you're going to shoot yourself in the foot by waiting for those people. And also don't wait for the government to fix the problem, because as we saw from Keith's slides, it's this problem, this imbalance of demand and supply has been going on for many years and continues to be a bigger and bigger gap. So, um, make sure that you are moving forward. Don't be waiting for cap relief or the government to take further action before you really hit the ground running or continue running with your hiring. So I promised you all this. So how do we know that workers are looking for jobs and have been since November? In Seasonal Connect, where we have over 80,000 workers, we track every week how many workers are logging in, how many are applying, and when they're doing so. So you can see on the left-hand side of the graph, that's early November. Um, there were about 1,200 logins that week. And then this past week, so the week of January 4th, we're up to 3,500 logins a week. So this has dramatically increased. The workers are in there, they're looking for jobs, they're applying to jobs. So if you are a Seasonal Connect member, make sure that you have your jobs posted. If you would like to join, I'll talk to you all about that at the end. But just look at this graph and really realize that workers are actively looking. They're ready to interview and to accept offers. So now really is the time to be recruiting for summer. All right, so let's talk about there's four main ways you can find workers, and I kind of listed these sort of in order of importance, with the most important being going directly to workers. And we're going to talk about why that's most important right now. Um, But essentially, you can go directly to the workers, you can work with recruiters, you can use your own network, or you can do in-country recruiting relationships or employer to employer recruiting, which we'll talk about. So, in terms of finding workers directly, there's a few different avenues you can take. As I mentioned, Seasonal Connect has workers you can post jobs they can apply to. You can search through that 80,000 worker pool for the right people for your team. Um, and we can also help with employer to employer recruiting, which I'll get to. There's also other hiring sites like Monster, Indeed. There's so many of them, as I'm sure you all know. So you can use those as well. And then Facebook. So I'm just going to chat with you about these pretty quickly. But before we dive into what that looks like with those different avenues, I just wanted to point out that your entire goal when directly recruiting workers as well as working with recruiters, people that you already know, and recruiting with opposite season employers is to highlight your organization. And this is something that you can do on Seasonal Connect. This is something you can do on social media. This is something you can do in your job posts. But your entire goal with this is to really highlight what makes your property unique and why a worker would want to come work for you over the next employer. So, is it the location? Is it the wonderful people that you serve? Is it how well you take care of the workers? It can be multiple different things, but your job is to really highlight that so that you can stand out and the workers, looking for jobs are going, I want to work for that property. They really enticed me. That sounds like a great place to work. Also make sure that as you recruit, you have need to know information. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people post things and their contact information is either hard to find or impossible to find. So make sure things like that are on there. And then make sure that you're showing what this is. Don't just say you have a great culture. Post photos. If you have a video of your seasonal staff or just of your workplace place culture, share that. This is your opportunity to really help the workers get in the mindset of what it's like to work for you specifically. So don't just make it, a sentence in your job posting or a sentence on your Seasonal Connect profile. Put up photos, show them in a video. Make sure that they can really get a good feel for what it's like to work at your property. Um, I've mentioned quite a bit of this, but on Seasonal Connect, you as an employer can post jobs that the workers can apply to. You can search through 80,000 workers for the specific kind of worker and people that you want. We also have a message board, so you can post in there. It only goes out to other Seasonal Connect employers. So you can post about your needs there, and it goes out to everyone. So if there's a specific kind of worker you're looking for, or you want to partner for recruiting, you can do that, and it notifies everyone. And then this is a great place for you to highlight your organization because you will have your own profile. So workers can find your property, and that's where they can see photos and videos of what makes you unique. They can find your job postings. They can learn, what you are requiring of them. They can apply to your job. So it's a really great platform for you to stand out to this specific group of seasonal hospitality H-2B workers. As I mentioned, you can also use other hiring sites. I love this picture because it shows you just how many are out there. But make sure you're posting your jobs there as well. As I said earlier, you want to put your eggs in multiple baskets. If you are just relying on Indeed or you're just relying on Seasonal Connect or Recruiter or just the people that you know, that's a mistake, especially given where we are right now. I want to make sure everybody hears me when I say, there's so many avenues for recruiting, especially directly to the worker, and I want to make sure that you all are taking advantage of all of those avenues. This also gives you more visibility. So the workers that are out there looking for jobs, if they're seeing your property time and time again, they're more likely to look into that. They're more likely to say, "Oh, I know that organization." They're familiar with it, and people, people like things that they know. So, having your presence out there is really important. And you're also reaching more workers. We may have 80,000 workers in Seasonal Connect, but there are other workers out there that may not be there and they might be on Indeed or they might be on Facebook. So just spreading your net wide will be really helpful there. And then I wanted to talk specifically about Facebook because we learned through Seasonal Connect actually that there are a lot of groups for H-2B visa workers on Facebook. And it's a tight-knit group. There's thousands of workers out there and they're looking for jobs. Some of them allow employers like all of you to join and say, hey, I need cooks for summer 2026. So this gives you more visibility. You can tap into the community. And again, it just gives you that active presence so that workers are seeing your name come up time and time again. As we talk about directly finding the workers, I just wanted to give you a few more tips, which we kind of talked about, but make sure they know how to contact you. Whether it's being able to apply, whether it's being able to get your email or call you, whatever the avenue is, make sure it's really obvious how to get in touch with you. Again, show, don't tell. So use photos, videos, really give them a feel for what it's like to work for you, not just, it's great to work here in a sentence. People are more likely to work for you or apply to work for you if they get a good sense of what it's like to be an employee of yours. And then just make sure that you are really being aware of your online presence and building your online presence so that you're getting your name out there and workers are seeing your property time and time again. Okay, recruiters. So I wanted to touch on recruiters. And when we were prepping for this webinar, Keith and I were talking about recruiters as well. And I think some of you may feel like it's too late to connect with them or it's not worth reaching out, but that is a mistake. They are still part of the puzzle. I think every possible way to recruit right now should be on your list of things to do. I would not rule anything out. The worst thing that can happen is they say it is too late, but there's recruiters out there that can be very helpful that may be able to help you at this time of the year. Um, there are recruiters that we know and trust that we can recommend if you'd like, because there's many recruiting companies out there, and some of them are doing really wonderful ethical work, and others may not be doing such ethical work. So if you're looking for recommendations, please let us know. But I would certainly look at using recruiters as well, as they are also a piece of the puzzle of recruiting. Also, be sure that you're using your own network. So, if there's people that you have met at conferences, people that you knew from previous jobs that you've worked at, make sure you're reaching out to them. See if they have any workers they can refer to you. If you know people at winter season organizations, chat with them about their staff. They may have workers that are still looking for placements for summer. Um, we see it all the time at Seasonal Connect. Some things fall through, things change, and sometimes there are last minute workers at winter organizations that really do need a summer season position. And if you're not tapping into that, you may be missing out on some really wonderful employees. All right, as Keith promised, we're going to talk about in-country recruiting or employer to employer recruiting. What is this? So for those that don't know and have never done this before, essentially what this is a summer season employer and a winter season employer partnered together, and you're transferring your seasonal staff from one employer to the other during your off season so that they can work for that partner. So um, if I am a resort in Florida, I'm, busy in the winter. I will have my staff for the winter, and then as my season wraps up, my summer season partner, let's say, a club in New England, who's busy in the summer, would then take those workers for their season, and then they would come back to me for winter again, and we would repeat that cycle. So what are the benefits of this? Why is this important? Why would we do this? Um, there's a couple of reasons. So the first, being what Keith mentioned, these workers are already in the country doing H-2B jobs, and they're cap exempt. They do not count against that 33,000, 35,000 cap on the H-2B workers. So that's very important here. Um, They also are qualified H2B workers that are doing the jobs that you're looking to hire for, and you can hire them in groups because you're working with another employer who already has a number of H2B workers looking for a job in the opposite season. This is also a great way to create a long-standing partnership and recruiting pipeline. So, as you continue to build that relationship with your partner or partners, um, the workers will know more about you and know more about what it's like to work for you. And that reputation will kind of compound on itself season after season. Your job with your partner is to create a cohesive experience for the workers. So it should be you and your partner working together to make this a more seamless process for the workers. Um, and it will allow you to be successful not only now but in the future. That's something I really want to drive home is in-country recruiting is so important. Um, I would definitely focus on going to the workers directly though at this point in the year. You should certainly look at employer to employer recruiting as well. But this is something that you can do now and throughout the year to set yourself up for success for next year, so that you're not in such a bind or in a pinch when it comes to recruiting for your summer season in 2027. All right. So how do you find in-country recruiting partners? Where are they? How do you get in touch with them? So this is where Seasonal Connect can come in. We actually built Seasonal Connect for this purpose. So prior to Seasonal Connect existing, a lot of people were finding in-country recruiting partners just based on who they knew. They may have worked at another seasonal employer before. They may have had a friend that they met at a conference. And it was a pretty limited pool. Now with Seasonal Connect, there's employers across the US, both winter and summer, and then also employers that have a dual season, winter and summer. And you can use Seasonal Connect to search for your ideal partner for recruiting. How else can you find these people? So, if you haven't heard about this, we both Seasonal Connect and Pabian Law um, present this event called the Staffing Summit, which is an annual event in person where the two main goals of this event are to give you education and then also allow you ample opportunities to network for this kind of recruiting. So we do all kinds of, cocktail hours, dinners, activities for you to meet other people to recruit from. The other way you can find these recruiting partners is other educational offerings where connections are prioritized. So it may be something like, well, we do employer speed networking at the staffing summit. It could be something on a virtual call. Um, there's all kinds of different offerings where you can meet other people, but make sure that it's somewhere where that's actually the goal of the event or the educational offering. Okay. So once you've found a partner, what do you talk with about them? How do you figure out if they're going to be a good partner for you? How do you weed out the ones that may not be a good fit for you? Um, I strongly suggest that you talk about your deal breakers first, which we will talk about, because there may be employers that look like they're going to be a great partner to you, but if you can't agree on certain foundational things or certain things you're unwilling to be flexible with, then you're wasting your time. And I strongly suggest talking about those first. The second biggest thing that you should be talking about is your dates of need. So when does your season start and end? When does their season start and end? But don't just stop there. Talk about when the workers will transfer. We see this time and time again with people who are new to this. Um, when you find a partner that your seasons align nicely, that's wonderful. Oftentimes, you find a partner where there's a little bit of overlap with the end of their season and the start of your season, and vice versa. And that's where things can get messy if you don't have a really honest conversation with your potential partner from the get-go. Talk about when those workers will leave your organization to go to their organization and when they will leave their organization to come back to your organization. Make sure that you are really being black and white about that. You're both on the same page and it's going to work for both of you. I'll also say try to be flexible there when both partners are flexible. It makes it a little more of a successful relationship. Once you've determined that your deal breakers are met and your dates of need align and you're both on the same page about when the workers will transfer, talk about the rate of pay and the cost of living where you are. There may be a difference in the hourly wage, but if one of you is in a very expensive and affluent area of the country and one of you is not, it may actually balance out based on the cost of living. Also, talk about the level of service that you're looking for these workers to provide and the experience that you're hoping to, that you're requiring of the workers. And then talk about things like housing, because that's a big one for workers. We do surveys of workers and employers every other month. And when we did one on housing, workers were saying that housing was their number one um, priority when looking for jobs behind wages. So that's definitely something you want to talk about with your partner. And then talk about workplace culture. We have seen partnerships that have checked all of the boxes, and then when it comes to workplace culture, it's vastly different. And a lot of times the workers don't always enjoy that. So it's nice to talk about what the culture is like at both partners and if that kind of complements the other. All right. So let's talk about tips for being successful when you're recruiting employer to employer. Um, Remember that when you are in your off season, your partner's in their busy season. I see too often employers will abandon their partner because they're in their off season or they're in their busy season, and you're forgetting that your partner is in a different time of their business cycle. So try to be there for your partner. Try to just keep in mind that when you are not busy, they are busy. When you are busy, they're not busy. And to try and kind of balance that. Um, Make sure that you're updating each other throughout the year on any changes to your organization, and make sure that you're touching base at least every 6 months to just see if anything has changed, if you're both still on the same page, and to just kind of have a check-in. It's always good to do that because things do change year to year, and new things can come to light at the end of each season. Also work with your partner to make the workers' year-round experience more cohesive. So talk about how you and your partner can kind of give them a similar experience, and also how you can make their transfer from one organization to the other a little bit more seamless. That's always greatly appreciated and can help with retaining workers year after year. Also, make sure you're adding new partnerships each year. This is something that I see people get hung up on. They like their partners, they don't want to change, but that can often backfire. I'm sure for those of you that have been doing H2Bs, you probably know that sometimes your dates move around a little bit. Sometimes you need more workers in one position or fewer workers in one position from year to year. So you want to be adding new partnerships each year. It can be really helpful for when things do change, and sometimes things just don't work out between partners. So you want to make sure that you're always kind of keeping this in the back of your mind and attending things like the staffing summit, and other educational offerings that provide these opportunities to meet these employers, and that you're using Seasonal Connect to help you meet them as well. My final tip on this that is very important is stick to your word. Another thing that I see backfire all the time is you may have these wonderful conversations when you're figuring out if a partnership's going to make sense for both organizations. You agree on when the workers will transfer from one property to the next, and then one of those partners does not honor that. That can get very messy. That can end a partnership very quickly and can really leave a bad taste in your partner's mouth. So make sure you're sticking to your word. Make sure you are, honoring what you and your partner have discussed so that both of you can have success with staffing your seasons. Um, and again, is it too late to do recruiting partnerships? It is not too late. Go after everything right now. There's so many different avenues as we're talking about for recruiting, and I really think you should look at all of them and be utilizing all of them as much as you can. Don't pigeonhole yourself. Don't put all of your eggs in one basket. But I do think going directly to the worker is time better spent. So I would focus a lot of your time there primarily and then look at things like using a recruiter, doing employer to employer relationships and so on and so forth.
Carly, can I just jump in for 1 sec on this? Just because
Yeah.
I just want to reinforce this from my side too. If I were one of you and trying to figure out where to go from here for the season, unless you did incredibly well in the lottery, Carly's outlined what I wrote down is kind of three different ways to recruit. You have the direct to the worker, right? That's all the stuff that she was talking about early on. You have the going down the recruiter side, and then you have the employer to employer, which is the partnership. When I'm talking about directly to the worker, that's all the things. That's seasonal connect, that's using your own network, that might be Facebook, it might be all the different job sites. At this point where we are now, because a lot of you are kind of coming at it, frankly, a month or two late, the directly to the worker side is going to be where you're going to get the most bang for your buck this season. But I talked about the demand early on, and I really mean this. You all need to also be focusing on not just the immediate triaging of this season, but the long-term implications. Because our clients that do the employer to employer connections, and a lot of you are on this, I see some of your faces on my screen right now. You're the ones that aren't panicking right now. You're the ones that are fine. And so right now, focus on if you're brand new to this, focus on finding the workers first and foremost, but don't lose sight of the longer term strategy because uh, it takes a little bit to create these partnerships, especially in a way that's really productive, where you have that opposite season employer that's kind of an extension of your recruiting arm, right? And they help you and you have that great relationship. Um, I have two other things, and then I'll shut up. One of the other mistakes that I see organizations make is thinking that they're so prestigious or people want to work for you. You might have won a lot of awards. The workers oftentimes don't care. And even if they do, Carly gave some incredible tips early on about going directly to the workers. You can't be passive and you have to be able to show your story. But just assuming that people are going to want to work for you because you are blank, pick the name of your organization and thinking that they're going to know who you are and that that's going to carry you forward is silly. Just like it's silly to think that you have a job in the United States and that's going to bring people in. There's so many people searching for these same workers. You need to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward. Finally, as a very biased person in this room, in this Zoom room, I think a lot of you would be absolutely crazy not to join Seasonal Connect, as Carly's about to talk to you about. It's so inexpensive and it gives you some direct access to the workers. So I hope that you listen to what she's about to tell you with the promotion and some opportunities there because I can't say this enough. Carly, do you remember what's the average cost for a recruit? Like when you look at national statistics, it's like 3 grand?
I was gonna say 3 to 5 grand, I think
Yeah.
is what we
So Carly, what does Seasonal Connect cost?
it's 99 a month for our basic plan.
Okay, so I teed you up perfectly, and I will now shut up and let Carly finish this up.
Thank you very much. But yes, I have to agree with you, Keith. But if once you guys figure out this season and you're fully staffed for this season, please don't lose sight of this. As Keith said, this is your ticket to success year after year. Do a little bit of the work now so that you can save yourself time next year and the years coming. Um, that also brings me to a really important note. You should not stop recruiting. This is a huge mistake I see people make year after year. They recruit from, December, January to February, March, and then they're like, see you later. I'll deal with this again in December. That is a mistake. Make sure you're constantly thinking about recruiting. I know that you all are so busy and there's so much more to your jobs, but you will save yourself time in the long run if you are actively working on this throughout the year. Um, and there's a few different ways to do that, but that's where I really feel like the partnerships are so important because and they're so important because you can kind of further that recruiting, and that's one of the things that you can be working on when the active recruiting window has closed and you've kind of settled and got all of your staff for the upcoming season. Also make sure that you keep trying and don't give up. I can't tell you how many times workers change their minds or something doesn't work out. So try your very best to be optimistic, but chase every avenue that you can. All right. So just to reiterate, I know that we've said this before, but we really can help you. You can search through our database of over 80,000 workers. You can use different filters to find in-country H-2Bs, and you can also use it to find partners. That's where I'm here as well. So, once you've been fully staffed or you're ready to kick off the season and then look at partnerships, I can always come in and help you identify potential partners and introduce you to them. So that's something that as a member, is no additional charge. That's what I'm here for. In terms of the promo, I promised you all this. The promo that we're doing is giving you 2 months of the premium tier, which is our highest tier, at the basic tier price of $99 a month. That's our lowest tier. And what does that really mean? The premium tier gives you unlimited number of users on your account, an unlimited number of job postings, and it unlocks all of the filters you could ever possibly need and more to find workers and partners. So we're giving you that for 2 months at the lowest possible price. If you want to sign up, please visit seasonalconnect.com/pricing. And if you have tuned out, make sure you listen to this part. Click buy now under the premium tier and then enter code SAVESUMMER26, and then that will automatically apply for you. All right. We did mention the staffing summit earlier in the webinar, but I just wanted to circle back on this because it is such an incredible opportunity to meet partners, to really learn and fine tune for those of you that are H-2B veterans and learn more about H-2Bs if you are new to the process, and also to hear from your peers. So too often we hear from employers that are like, I don't know what other employers are doing with X, whether it's housing, wages, and everything in between. This is a great opportunity to talk with others that are in the same position as you and do the same thing that you do, and kind of get ideas and learn best practices and just expand that network that you have as well. Anything to add on this, Keith?
The only other thing is I put the link to the Staffing Summit website right in the chat already. So, of
Oh, thank you. Yes, it's
course.
staffingsummit.com. And we're always here as well to answer any questions that you have about this. But we'd love to see you. This year it's in Portland, Maine. It's Monday, July 20th through Wednesday, July 22nd. All right, so we're going to open it up to questions. If you have questions, please put them in the chat. We'll be happy to answer them. And then here's our contact information as well. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We are here to help you, to assist you. We want you all to succeed and to have a great season.
And Carly, I've been answering questions as we go. So I right now there are no questions.
Okay, thank you for doing that.
Of course.
If anyone, we'll give it a few more seconds. If you have any other questions, please put them in the chat. But if not, again, we're here to help you. I really appreciate all of you for taking the time today, and hopefully this was helpful for you. I see, will we get a copy of this recording? Yes, you will. I'm going to send that out. And then if you have any questions, you can always just reply to me and we can connect from there. Anything else to add, Keith?
No, I really appreciate you all being here. I know when Carly and I were talking to prep for this, I said to Carly, what's kind of your biggest advice as someone that sees this every day? And she really went through some really, really great tips about how to really highlight your organizations to the workers. So just get on it, guys. The clock is very much ticking, and it's definitely time to really think through your plans about where you're going to find your H2B workers and how you're going to get them. And so I think our biggest advice for both of us is just really go after it hard right now.
And don't close doors to any avenues, I think that, you may be hesitant to use. Try everything and don't put all of your eggs in one basket. I know I've said that 10 times during this webinar, but that really is very important.
Keith, Carly, I do have a question if you've got a moment.
Yes, of
Yeah.
course.
So let's say we've got some really good candidates and they are agreeing to be part of our team, and then we find out they're also on another petition or two. I don't mean a black site, but is there someplace that we can go to where we've been burned by current employees or employees that are just not the candidates that you'd like to have that you might not be able to get from a reference or something like that? Is there a site where we could find out who's the top of the top and the bottom of the bottom?
That's a great question. And this is something we've talked about and mulled over the years. Not currently that I'm aware of. We thought about doing this in Seasonal Connect, allowing employers to leave, ratings or comments. Where we decided not to go down that route is that what may work for one employer may not work for another. So we didn't want to, have someone influence another employer, because you all have different requirements, you all have different expectations. And so we've decided against that. Keith, do you know of any, or do you have anything to add to this?
Well, so here's what comes to mind. Seasonal Connect has a message board that I think would be a great use of things like that.
Sure.
I will also tell you at our firm, we do try to keep an eye on that stuff. We're not perfect by any stretch, but we do alert clients if we see the same name on multiple petitions. So, um, unfortunately, a lot of them have played that game. I think it's a really dangerous game to play. Like, there's some legal issues that come with that for the workers that I don't think they understand. But there is no, unfortunately, like black site per se. But I really think that would be a great use of the message board within Seasonal Connect, and if you want to start that. And again, we look for that on the law firm side with Pavian Law.
I love
Awesome.
that
And
idea.
what are some of the parameters that would negatively impact the employee so we can tell them on the front end, hey, if you're thinking about doing this, these are some of the ramifications that you'll have?
So this will, because I like you and we've hung out before many times at different events. I'm going to answer this, but this is going to be the last legal question I'm going to answer because for our clients, including you, we have the town hall webinar on Thursday that we can get into some of the more intricacies. But the long story short is there's this whole rule in immigration law called the last action rule, meaning almost like the most recent thing applies. So let's say that a beautiful club in South Carolina decides to sponsor someone for an H-2B, but then, and they say they're going to go work for you, but then they throw their application in as well for someone that's in, pick a different state. Technically, if that second application gets approved, it kind of undermines yours. And so you'd be completely compliant because you would have no way to know, but theoretically that worker could get in trouble because they might be working for the wrong employer. So it's this weird rule that I have never seen the government actually go after workers for this, but we haven't even talked today about all the compliance stuff going on as well. And I think it's just a dangerous world right now to be playing around with stuff like that.
Thanks, Coach.
Gotcha.
I'll say too, in Seasonal Connect, so say you have an accepted offer from a worker, you can go in Seasonal Connect and make that offer in Seasonal Connect and have them accept it, and actually takes them out of the results for other employers for that season. So I do recommend going in and doing that. That is the one thing that we really felt comfortable with trying to help you all, from workers kind of being on multiple petitions and job hopping at the last second. All right. Any
This is
other?
June. I had
Hi,
a
Jen.
question. I was just going to ask, do you guys have, so this is my first time going through this process, and I was kind of wondering if you all have like any guidelines that you provide for, recruiting, or not recruiting, but like talking to candidates, certain things that, I know the way we did it last year was we posted on Indeed, and I'm just kind of like trying to make sure that I work through like what the differences are, right? Like, are there certain questions that I need to be like asking them up front, in terms of like, do they have like the documentation and things that they need before we proceed? Or are there any guidelines or anything that you can speak to regarding that?
That's a
Carly,
great.
I can go first because I have an easy answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
June, you should have gotten an email from us with the legal side parameters to try to get to the do they qualify to come extend to you. So just let me know or like email me if you need us to resend those. But that from the legal like do they qualify side, we do give you that. Carly, have we ever created that for Seasonal Connect? Because if not, that would be a great thing for us to create.
I don't know that we have, but I love that idea. I think we absolutely can, and then we can put it on the resources page for all of you to have.
Yeah, on the Seasonal Connect side, Carly's doing a ton to really help the members. So if you have ideas of what you need, that's a great suggestion, June, and it's stuff that we can certainly create.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, all right, and I'll look for your email.
Perfect.
Thanks, June. Any other questions? I think we got everybody in the chat. All right. Oh, well, thank you, everybody. We appreciate your time. And we will be sending out the recording. But I hope you all have a wonderful afternoon and good luck with your recruiting.
Thanks so much, everybody.
Everyone, bye.